printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.
All right. What is going on?
We're back.
We're back. Had some business to attend to.
Everybody and their brother.
Grand Central Station. What was the big news while we were kind of trying to get back on here is Kamala Harris has become one of the biggest names to date.
To drop out.
Yeah.
Like 40 minutes ago, something like that is when I first seen it. I think she got paid off, probably. I don't think you'd rule her out.
It is Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, it is Taco Tuesday. Don't rule her out as a vice president nominee.
So we just had, now we got Buttigieg probably climbing a few more. Biden's still holding in there, but he's delirious.
Warren dropped from October. I was just watching that this morning. Well, it's not dropped out, but I was watching the numbers and the rankings. Buttigieg is up, Biden's up a little, and Warren dropped significantly since October. She was like at 26 or so. Now she's 14, so she doesn't have any credible legs to stand on. My gut tells me Buttigieg is going to get the nomination because he's new and they don't have any dirt on him.
Yeah.
Biden, he's old. He's been through the gauntlet. He's got the Biden-Boyd problems. Warren's got zero credibility. I don't know why they would nominate him, though. He's not going to win Indiana. And if you're going to be, why would you nominate somebody that can't even pull his own state? He won't win Indiana. I'm promising you guys that. He won't win Indiana. Indiana is red and way red. So I don't know. I've always wondered when they go to pick a president or a vice candidate, especially a vice candidate, wouldn't you want to pick somebody that is in a battleground state?
They're saying that the House Democrats released the report detailing their impeachment case against President Trump.
Yeah, we knew that was coming. Well, I don't know if you knew that, but I was hearing that this morning too.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. So the House Intelligence Committee on Tuesday released a report documenting the impeachment case. Yeah. So let's just see here what they got. The report is based on 2 months of public and private testimony. The report approval, they're not giving us anything that it's over because there is nothing.
Jimmy Carter treated again. He's just getting too old, poor guy.
There it is. Just to take a look at it there. It's up on the main screen. So the Trump-Ukraine impeachment inquiry report. We're not going to read all this here, but
cultured pure. Indiana is red ? Indiana is red. Not always, but traditionally it's a red state, meaning it votes for the Republican nominee. In this case, Trump. So Buttigieg is from South Bend. If you didn't know that, he's the mayor of South Bend, northern Indiana, Notre Dame area, Chicago Cubs affiliates here. It's always blue. The mayor's always a Democrat. South Bend always goes blue. Fort Wayne goes blue. Indianapolis goes blue. Parts of Evansville. I mean, the bigger cities, just rule of thumb around the country, is always blue. But Indiana is always a red state. I'd have to look at the history, but I would bet it's always 95% red. Maybe somewhere in the early 90s it might have went blue once, but I can't remember. Under Evan Bayh, maybe. But I don't remember blue for some time. Kind of like Texas, it's traditionally a red state.
Wow, they got this crazily messed up, dude.
What's that?
Real quick here, I got it pulled up. So here's the actual charges they got. So executive summary 1, the president's misconduct, all right? The president conditioned a White House meeting with military aid to the Ukraine in a public announcement. 2, the president's obstruction of House representative impeachment inquiry. The president requests for a political favor. The president's removed anti-corruption champion Ambassador Yovanovitch. The president's hand-picked agents begin the scheme. It's just a whole bunch of
So I seen something on Facebook that somebody said it was false, Michael. I was looking it up and Snopes.
I was like, that's huge if it's real. Let's go talk about it. Let's look it up real quick.
So Barr, the AG, apparently, so this is not fact.
This is satire.
Going after De Niro and them for, bashing the president or making hostile threats, whatever. So Snopes ends up saying, no, it's not real. But on one of the comments, and it was a family member of mine that commented, he says, even if it is fake, it's time to see heads roll. I mean, you see all these indictments against Trump. Isn't it? It's time. It's time that we see the rest of them get arrested and tried. If they're going to... The Republicans need to stand up and say, all right, enough. You guys are doing this with zero fact and all opinions and second and third hand encounters. I love the hearings where... I don't know how many times I heard one of the witnesses get it. Did you personally hear Trump?
No.
Well, no, but so-and-so's uncle has an aunt that just gave birth, and that baby's uncle's dad, he's the one that said it. Let's get him in here.
A little hearsay.
Well, then you heard...
hearsay's better than...
What's his name?
firsthand, sometimes.
The jerk leading the entire... Oh, got it. Adam Schiff.
That's what they said.
All of a sudden, their star witness, the whistleblower, is not gonna ever testify, but in the beginning, well, we got to get him in front of Congress. That was just to get the ball going.
Oh yeah,
they're not gonna put this guy in front, and here's why. And if y'all were paying attention, they went out and they found out that the day after Trump was not or got the presidency, the guy was all over his own Twitter page and whatnot, say, oh, we're not gonna stand for this. We got to get him out of here. We got to impeach him. So they're so stupid that they don't realize technology come back to hurt them. Just like Biden, what Trump's doing, if Trump did use a political favor, which he's the president of the United States, they do it all the time, I would think.
We got a treaty with the Ukraine not to be corrupt.
Right.
So there's no possible way they can be corrupt and be okay with it, or we can't have corrupt people from our country working. I would beg to, so we know for a fact that Biden talked about that whole firing of a guy, 6 hours, I'm getting on a plane and we're not going to give you $1 billion. To fire this prosecutor. Their angle on that is, well, yeah, everything Biden said is true, but he was firing a guy that was corrupt, and they wanted to get a real prosecutor over there in the Ukraine system. Yeah. So if you even buy that, I guess it's coming out now, leaks against them, that the day after they fired that prosecutor and the Ukraine put a new one in, that there was a phone call between Biden and that new prosecutor 5 days in a row after they fired the old one. For the next 5 days, Biden made phone calls from the White House to this guy. Wow. 5 different phone calls. So release all those transcripts or the phone call. Let us hear it. See what he was talking about.
It got lost in Hillary's email.
Yeah.
It was on the same server that got scrubbed and bleached and yada, yada.
I find it, I guess in my collective couple years of really digging in, because I've always done the research, that for 20 years, but into the specifics of these political people and how they operate, I find it damn funny that they know they did something wrong. They just know that the public hasn't heard it yet. It's classified. It's on some secret thing. And even if they think that Trump might have heard it, they know that he heard it.
Right.
They know what they did, but there's this 99% of the people don't.
Right.
So that you operate off that level, and that's weird.
That was one of the notes I wrote down on the way over here, from day one, and we know this. I think I've repeated this a zillion times. I know you have. They never planned on Trump winning. So all these people that were put in play and all of the deception and all the fraud and all the lies and all the BS that was going on, even Biden's boy, they never worried about it because it was never supposed to hit mainstream media because Trump wasn't supposed to win. So when you look at all this feedback and all the playback of why everybody was so distraught, now the American people that were crying, it's because they fell for the media hook, line, and sinker. But could you imagine if Hillary won, we would be talking about none of this corruption. Their heads were so big, they knew they were going to win. So it was almost like we can do whatever we want over the next 16, 18 months. No different than Peter Strzok's messages to Lisa Page. We got to come up with something. This is just an insurance policy. And they asked him to reread it, and he's like, he didn't want to rig because it was the truth. But those things were never going to come up if Hillary won. Well, she didn't. And now they're trying to point the finger at Trump as if it was his fault.
Well, they got real sloppy in their digital trail of stuff. Ugh. And the only way to keep it buried was to keep control of the system. The minute you lose control of high access, then you...
Correct.
So we're all arguing about this FISA, and this report's going to come out of how they did it legally, but we all know that before they did the FISA, the fake dossier to get it legally, that was after Trump won. That was the insurance. That's what we're living now, correct, according to Trump, is this insurance policy that they all talked about. That's what we're in right now. It's not over. The coup's still here. But before that, they were doing the spying illegally, going through the Five Eyes system overseas, where it's different. It wasn't alerting our intelligence communities over here. But once they lost and that date came in November, they had 2 or 3 months to do the insurance plan, which is the only thing we're really talking about yet. And they're going to explain it and try to make it look like it's good and say, okay, so that's all legit. Yep. So what about this other one that was all off the book?
Just like the Mueller report. Just one thing after another to keep burying the American people, and just keep them paying attention to this, so they're really not paying. Well, so Trump's obviously winning, and if he gets through this impeachment process, what's the next thing they're going to try to do?
Yeah.
They know damn well if he gets reelected, which by all the numbers,
by a landslide,
he's going to destroy him again.
2020 by a landslide. So then
what does he do? Is he waiting for the Republicans in the House and the Senate to get the balls to say enough's enough? Now we're going to go after Strzok, Page, Clinton, all the way to the top. Obama's going to be protected because there'll be enough people that just take the blame and the fall for him.
I would say, I got. There's a lot of dates coming here, Scott, and you might want to write these down. But so anytime today, what's today? December 3rd?
Yeah.
So put December 3rd, December 5th. People are thinking that the FISA D class is going to happen. These are a couple dates we've kind of picked through on the keyboards and stuff. But December 3rd, December 5th, but all the way up to the 8th. You can put a -8 after that 5. Now on the 9th, for sure, Horowitz releases a FISA findings, his 2-year, year-and-a-half long investigation, 500 pages. We already gotten leaks.
Right.
They're undermining it on the left, saying it's going to undermine Trump and everything he said, but it's 500 pages to whatever, describe lots of things. December 11th, so the December 9th is FISA release. December 11th, the Horowitz guy that releases that is going to be testifying.
Oh.
In front, so we'll get questions from both sides. And then on the 13th of December, Congress adjourns, which they're not in session, which kind of means they couldn't be arrested and things like that, because they can't be while they're in session for nothing. I found out, like they could literally, like they are immune to all, like I think traffic stops. They can go steal stuff. No, I don't know. It's weird, but they can be for when they're not in session. So that's interesting there. I don't know where Durham falls into that. He's the one that, Horowitz can't convene grand juries, can't recommend criminal charges, can't do any of that.
So what's the point of having him?
Well, his is the findings of everything. Yeah. And then you have Attorney General Barr, you have Durham, which is they did something special here. They got this other guy going at the same time because there's already been things found. But they're saying Horowitz is going to outline the actual crimes pretty good and tell you everything, but it's going to be that the flip of it is going to be, it was done like in the proper words, like where we use rat, informant, you embedded a spy into the campaign. They're going to use confidential human source, and it was all the
reverbitizing the American or the English language.
Yes.
Oh, man.
But I don't want to jump to any conclusions, folks. So we're going to wait on those dates. Those are huge, and we should know so much more after that. Where we're going to, how we go forward, what we think. I know Trump isn't going to just take. It's one man. Now his history is long, and they're already starting to say there's ties of the Clintons throughout these years. He's a henchman. Some people say he's really fair. We got to take what he says to be, But again, it's one man that looked into all this for 2 years. I mean, they came out with the first one that Horowitz did last summer, and it named James Comey as a crime. But again, no charges were going to, it was like the same charges they hit up the people in Trump campaign who
right.
Manafort, Flynn, now Roger Stone. Those three people had the same charge recommendation that Comey's already gotten. But yet they decided at the DOJ not to press charges on Comey.
So that's the overall question. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate because you possibly can't know, but aren't we ready? I mean, the people are ready for indictments on things that we can actually prove, tangible acts of tyranny or treason against the state, lies in front of Congress. It's time for some of these people to be held accountable. Again, I keep looking down because I'm trying to read the messages and communicate here at the same time. I think we're way past ready. So when do we quit taking it on the chin and start demanding, that they do something about the rest of them? This is just old news and it's exhausting.
Well, like up here, so you talk about that. There's 134,570 sealed around the country, 14,957 been unsealed, and there's 313 non-sealed at this point. But if you even touch like Indiana, there's 3,320 sealed right now. You go out to places like California, there's 23,000 there. Now, again, indictments are not, it's just a charge. You have to be proven, but these are mounting. Places like Florida, Texas, 12,000.
I don't see any in Wyoming.
Where's that at, right here?
A 10.
38?
Yeah. Jeez. I didn't know there were 38 people in Wyoming.
So you're correct in... This is what makes it all different, people that are, there's not going to be any charges, nobody's going to get in trouble. Well, that's going to be the common case. Again, I'm thinking Trump has exhausted almost every avenue at this point. At this point, will it be Trump having to stop the coup himself? The old adage of if you want something done right, do it yourself.
I think he's prepared to.
Well, I mean, how else does it stop?
He's got Barr there, though, man. Barr's solid, and he's respected on both sides of the aisle. Not by the extreme left, but he's got some moderates that respect him.
And you take it back to that Barr talking at the Federalist dinner, where he gets into that, well, shortly after Trump won, there was a Leave resistance started. Right. And he calls it, and it's not made up. There's been tons of the people on the left use that term, the resistance. People texting it right in 2016 when he won in November. They were tweeting that like on, what I find funny is the whistleblower that we don't know's lawyer tweeted in like November of 16. Trump had won the vote in November of 8th, but it was not sworn in yet. It was only like the end of November, early December. He's tweeting, Trump will da-da-da, da-da-da, then he'll be impeached for da-da-da, and da-da-da. And then he put like hashtag resistant, like the Viva. Right. So he like named it out, and here he is at the very end of this, lawyer for the whistleblower. So is he in the Nostradamus and predicted it?
Right. Or it was all planned.
And then the coincidence is he just kind of ends up being the lawyer for the whistleblower. Right, I mean, wow, we can't imagine
this
that.
This was their insurance policy, but they were late. Planned. And here's why they made the mistake. And now I'm not a cop or a detective, but the reason I believe they all got caught up is because early on, like I said, they just knew Hillary was going to win. They knew it. And then at some point they start saying, oh shit, we're not going to win. So panic. And when do murderers get caught? When it's a crime of passion, right? When you didn't have time to plan it out, and you made silly mistakes that detectives and people are used to looking for and fighting. They were so arrogant they thought they were going to win, and then at some point in November, I think long before the election, 30 days or so, October, November, somebody started saying, these numbers aren't looking good. Now, they were still telling the media to tell all of us.
Oh, yeah, that's the last push of a lie is to just...
But then they start putting this whole cabal thing together, and they made mistakes because they did it too quick. And they just started picking people and saying, hey, you owe favors, you owe favors. It was sloppily done.
Well, all the people that thought she was going to win had paid into the foundation where Bill Clinton was talking, money was flowing in, so they were vested on the point of they better win because they had so much money put in.
Glad you just said that.
The other point on that you just hit was, so supposedly the research I've done on the Q side, and you've heard it, before they did the official dossier that the DNC and Hillary paid for to put in legally and be the insurance plan, That was the end result because they waited for somebody who could win. Before that, they were spying on Ted Cruz.
Sure.
They were spying on all the Republican people. So they only horned in on Trump once he won and had to take it to this next level. So it's interesting. Are they going to get to the bottom of all that? Or is going to people all along the way covering for it? Too many ties, too many connections, scared to go against the system. I don't know. But Trump has exhausted
so
every...
you said Clinton Foundation, and this was a topic that I paid attention to 2 or 3 nights ago. And here's just a clip, and it's from, who's the media outlet? OpenSecrets.org. But there's several of them out here like this, and you can fact check me. So Clinton Foundation cash flow continues to drop years after the 2016 election.
Oh, it fell off.
Why? Because
nothing to offer?
Nothing to offer. So all you foreign dignitaries in third world countries and friends of friends of friends, keep giving us money and we'll make sure we're in power to make sure that none of your mishaps or your pedophilia or any of your...
Come to light.
Yeah. We're just
So
now they're like, oh shit, we got to go find somebody else that's going to cover us up, or they're just running for the hills. But it's not...
That's easy to see.
That the Clinton Foundation cash flow is dropping. Their cash cow is gone.
Well, did they cease to do great things for around the world just because she didn't win presidency or however it was working? I mean, Bill was talking, making $500,000 in these countries. She was Secretary of State. Money was flowing in. But the minute she doesn't win in 2016, it's almost like no longer not worth people donating to. Whatever they were doing before, the day before, is no longer worth.
Holy
I mean, it's
smokes.
kind of... This is being investigated.
Here's a short paragraph. Minds are going to be blown right now. So the Clinton Foundation's $30 million revenue last year is less than half the $62 million it raised in 2016-17, as Clinton was at the height of her presidential campaign. Each of the 2 years since Clinton's lost the election has seen the organization's revenue drop record lows, raising less than in a fiscal year more than a decade, a sharp contrast to the $250 million raised her first year as Secretary of State. So they're raising this money. Don't tell me that they didn't know back then that she was, Biden's going to secede Obama and get the... No.
It's a whole illusion of it, too, because she signed specific paperwork with Obama that she wouldn't have anything to do with the foundation. And she's like, all right. And then, I mean, they signed it, but she put that Huma Abedin in there. There was all the emails coming into the same... It was all bad. And just the perception of it being bad, you shouldn't have a bunch of people, like 10 of us that are outsiders, like, that looks bad. No, Clinton's like, let me explain it herself. And then we have to listen to her explain it to 10 people that already think it looked bad. It's already bad. That's it. That's a perception.
She sounded like Bill. It depends on what you call bad, or what the word "it" is. So, it's not ironic to me. And I guess the follow-up to that, the Clinton Foundation, blah blah blah, it's losing money because she's not going to be in power to help all these people, and they all got stiffed, basically, right?
Yeah.
And they basically gave a lawyer
get a good refund on their
retainer fee, right? So yeah, so. Then you go to just ask yourself these two questions. Just these two people. Anthony Weiner, do you think he would have been indicted and thrown in prison if Hillary was president? And do you believe that Epstein would have hung himself, and would he have even been indicted and put in jail in a holding cell to begin with if she was president? And then you look at the Clinton Foundation just losing money by the millions. That's enough evidence that I could go in front of Congress, or I could stand in front of 100 people and repeat just those couple of facts. Those are facts. Those three things. Those two people are either dead or went to prison, and the Clinton Foundation lost a buttload of money. And just ask 100 average American Joes, why do you think that is? Well, because she's not president. Well, okay. Boom, guilty.
Yep.
But for some reason, nobody's dragging her butt in front of Congress.
Yeah, we're dealing with one of the...
And what'd you say in Garage Talk? And I found it ironic. I did. I almost had to go, ugh. If she runs, then she can't be... How'd you say that?
No, I said we need to worry, or we know that... What do you call it?
If
the
she runs,
shit's hitting the fan type
if she
stuff.
runs and then Trump and his administration goes after her on any of these charges, what do you suppose the media and the Democratic Party is going to say? Oh, look at him. He's trying to make a
just
a
like
political
opponent.
Yeah.
That's the only, you can't do that. No, if she announces her running, that's why it's been muffled out there for 3, 4, 5 months now.
Yeah.
And it's, man, the people want me to. No, nobody wants you to. But
Your lawyer does.
she's saying that. They went on that book tour, her and Bill, like 4 months ago, and they couldn't give tickets away.
Yeah.
Like, they were saying nobody's showing up. It was literally held 3,000 people. They had 14 people. I mean, it was pathetic.
Yes.
Nobody wants them, but she's going to announce that she's running the minute the indictments, she gets a head up that the indictments are rolling down, because that'll be the last little thing that we got to deal with, I think, with these people. I honestly do. I think that's
you heard it here first.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's...
Sean Hannity's going to repeat this in about 2 weeks. You watch. I mean, really think about that. She's going to announce her run for presidency again, knowing she's going to lose, so she cannot be attacked by Trump, because it would be negative fodder.
The minute you run,
You're
like Biden, well, then you are now you have access to the media, and especially her. Biden's getting it. Look, his new name of the tour, he just renamed it last night. No malarkey, no malarkey.
No malarkey.
No malarkey.
No malarkey. These kids touch the hair on my legs to see it stand up again, and I love. What was the word he used that back in the day it meant something pretty bad, but
yeah.
I love them on my laps. What do you call it? Cockroaches?
He said roaches.
Roaches. I love it when the roaches
There's
jump up
no
on my lap.
reason that he needed to bring up the roach comment, and he did.
There was like a minute and a half of him rambling on that most people went, what the hell is he even talking about?
See, a lot of these people like Clinton and him, they'll use the earpieces in their earphone, and you don't see them. They're so little, they get embedded. They push it in with something. You don't see it, but he's maybe a white hat had intercepted out in the parking lot. He,
Bruce Almighty,
the black hat that was talking to Biden, he gets a gun. Give me the earpiece,
right.
And the guy's like, gives it to him, and then he starts talking cockroaches.
Bruce Almighty all over again. He just
takes him off the main, what he was going to say. And he don't know. He never knows what he's saying anyway. It's normally good stuff to work for him.
What did he mean by that? I have the type of hair on my legs that when in the sun turns blonde, and when I'm in the water and it lays down flat on my leg. Children used to love to jump in the pool and touch my leg and make my hair.
My hair goes to blonde in the summer.
A, what do you mean by that? B, why would you say that? It just sounds creepy. It's got no plot, nothing other than you're just a creep. I think old Joe is officially ready for the nut house.
Did you guys see this? It's nice. We got about 460 people in the room right now.
You could probably play that.
Yeah, I'll play a little clip of it. Here we go.
If you haven't,
I got it.
This is sick. And I don't even know how to describe it because it's just weird nonsense. There's absolutely no plot, no narrative. It's just rambling.
Let me,
kind of like me right now because Mike's missing the key button there.
I can't remember what I named it. So many videos in here. Right here, the night before Christmas.
Yes, it's such a long one too. But the beginning, I think, is where it shows.
Yeah, we'll just show the first minute here.
Nobody ever helped me. I had to do it myself. Even the doctor didn't know.
Dude, keep it together. I listened to you for half an hour, even though most of that stuff went right over my head.
And when they cut to the President of the United States, you call your kids in from the other room because you want them to hear what the President of the United States has to say.
I don't know how to characterize that from our president except as grotesque.
And by the way, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
History is going to question whether or not this was just...
No, that's not made up. He said that was not edited. I mean, obviously the cartoon part of it was, but those are his words, his statements.
Here. I'll do this last little one towards the end here, just so you can see it. Look at it. I line it up a little bit.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down, so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Jesus Christ.
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
A, does anybody have any
comments on that?
Response to that? B, can anybody tell me what that might have been about? I'm not a therapist.
Does anybody have a better understanding of it? Because I definitely don't.
If you look, and I'm not going to tell you what I think it is, but if you look in the history books, the word roach, it's referring to the cartoon nailed it. I just don't understand. I don't understand what he meant by it. I don't understand why somebody should have walked up from his campaign and just knocked his block off there to keep him from talking, because I don't even know what he's talking about anymore. I'm sure he'll have an explanation for this. But I wonder if it'll be on the late shows, you know, Jimmy Fallon's and Colbert. I don't know. It has nothing to do with Trump. Why would it be?
Dang. What's going on the feed here?
I don't know.
Is it working or no?
Yeah, we got 357. He says, Ben Vineyard says, every time I see it, I want to throw up. Joan Hood says, pervert. Somebody said, gosh, they made that video fast.
I know, somebody.
Like he just got done speaking and boom.
There it is, I'm back.
So there's a good one. Somebody, man, that happened too quick here. He's playing the crazy card, so when trial comes up, he can just claim he's crazy. And you know what? That's enough. Hey, go back. Joe's been losing his mind for a while. What? You can't keep running for president and also be using this.
They know they're not going to win. I think they're all running for the reason to be able to claim insanity or have a voice to. I don't know, because it doesn't seem legit.
Cultured Purell says, sounds like he has had a stroke and things are jumbled up. I've watched stroke victims and just rambling. He is crazy. He thinks black kids never seen blonde leg hair. Stray dog.
I'll take some comments.
The roach comment, I understand it's a racist slur back in the day. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to even just play with that at all. But my understanding is it's a racial slur.
Somebody said there's more to the conversation. You're correct. There's a lot more to it, but there is no backdrop to that area of the conversation that would even lead into that.
Did somebody just defend Joe?
No, he said he wasn't defending him. He was real clear, but it's almost like I'm not defending him, but hey, there's more to the conversation. You're right. And I actually watched the 3 or 4 minutes of it, and it still didn't seem right when he got into that. To me, like I said, it sounded like somebody else was in his ear talking to give him that, and totally did that on purpose.
Do you remember the late night Stephen Colbert and all them when Trump was running, and they said, you know, it's in that compilation. Oh, I said the word right. I love those compilations anyway, when they said he couldn't win, and then Colbert's like, so Trump just entered the campaign. Do it. Please do it. You know, as if you're going to be an easy candidate. Biden, keep running. I hope they nominate you. But I wanted to ask the listeners, is it plausible, even you, Mike, is it plausible that the nominee would ask Hillary to be their vice? Because she's obviously still got a lot of, I don't know if you say a lot, but I'm sure she pulls weight.
That don't happen till next summer. I'm hoping we're not going that long with any of this crap. This stuff's coming to a head here in December. That's my pickings. And then we'll move forward from there. But that would be next summer. Typically, it's July, right before the elections in November.
They'll look at what state they really need to win.
Well,
and,
that's normally no. Like by this coming July, it'll be down to the one front runner for the Democratic Party. That's when they'll announce who they're. Because none of them.
July? I thought they needed a whole year to campaign against the president. Because
Well,
it's a whole year of debates.
Right
isn't it?
now, it's been doing that. Yeah, I've been covering them. We've been watching them. Trump's kind of running around, but the Democrats keep having their on-stage things.
When
and
do they finally nominate their?
people are dropping out left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they'll keep dropping out up until July, and then you have that front runner that the DNC endorses. You know,
That's July.
that's normally June,
So in the next
July.
couple of months, we're going to see Hillary on her broomstick. There's going to be cartoons of here she comes to save the Democratic Party.
I'm hoping we don't go that far with these people.
The deep state.
I mean, you got this Bloomberg that just got in now, and
Interesting fact. Over the weekend, or over Thanksgiving, he jumps in, and then the owner of Home Depot, he's worth like $5.7 million, Marco, I think his name is. He said, well, apparently him and Bloomberg have a nasty history together, because he said, man, I'm $5.7 billion. I got no problem letting most of it go towards Trump's campaign if Bloomberg's going to play this race of...
dude just spent $40 million for a week's worth of ads last week.
And $30 million to pay people to go out into the community and get people registered.
Jeez.
That should be illegal. You should not be able to go door to door. Hey, are you a registered voter yet? And because now it's biased. Well, I'm part of the Democratic Party and I want to help you. Well, there should be some kind of a law against that. I mean, you shouldn't be able to lead the sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, and all the way to the drinking trough, talking their ear type thing. Anyway, I thought that was kind of ironic. But here's what I heard, and if I'm wrong, somebody can chime in. Because he missed the caucus, he's not going to be allowed on the debate stage. Like, he can't get up there from now to July and debate unless one of those people want to do a private debate. Like, the Democratic Party is not letting him get up on stage and do any debating because he missed the Iowa and, what's the other one? Not Rhode Island. Is it Rhode Island? There's a caucus out east,
Yeah.
and we got the Iowa.
I believe so.
So I found that interesting, and he said, well, I don't really care about that. I have enough money to put my face and my campaign out there on TV and radio and whatnot. So and Warren asked him not to do it. Biden's begging him not to do it. But so now you have some more hypocrisy. Trump used all of his, he's a billionaire running for president. He's going to buy the White House. Well, now their party's got a guy that's worth, so now it's going to be okay for Bloomberg to do it. But, and he does have a leg to stand on because them idiots in New York elected him 3 times to be their mayor. But I don't understand why he would even bother if he can't debate.
All right, let's do a quick shout out here. You guys put where you're coming in from. I always like to do that. And again, tonight, I keep almost forgetting, at 9 p.m., I'm going to be doing a live show with American Joe. He'll be beaming in at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a little later than I normally do, but it works out for him. So we're going to be doing a 9 p.m. Eastern Standard for about 45 minutes to an hour at the latest. But again, put where you're checking in from today, and we'll kind of go over a few of those, give some shout outs. It's always a great thing to do. I like to see where you guys are checking in from.
Verify the Biden tape with an original. Well, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that one, it's...
maybe a longer version. Maybe he's asking us to show a minute before and a minute after. I mean,
every mainstream thing's on it now. They've been posting at Fox News, all of them. Hannity went over it last night, actually. So it's
Alabama, Montana, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arkansas. Oh, man. North Alabama, upstate New York. Sorry, Annette. I'm sure some of your taxes are going to the city. And
Upstate's great, though.
Cold east of Florida.
Indiana. Missouri. England. Nice. NorCal. Northern Cali.
Massachusetts.
Sweden. 18
Washington.
months.
I've seen the guy from Sweden a couple of times now. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Patriots are global. It's not really just an Americana thing. It's, all over the world type thing. Oh!
Oregon, Tennessee, Illinois, Jersey.
Brings up a cool little bit I already told Mike about. Somebody said, America's not the greatest country anymore, blah, blah, blah. It may not be in certain different levels, but, Sweden and Norway, they're so great. And I actually, and this is how you tell these people if they think that these other countries are so great, remind them, without a sovereign country fighting for your rights like America, And all these other little countries wouldn't even exist. So don't sit here ever in front of me and try to argue, well, Norway's like this and this country's like this and it's a social state. Number one, it's not a social state. But number two, without the United States, freedom falls, man. I mean, you're not going to defend against the Chinese or the socialists republic. You can't defend your little country with 20,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
You need the beacon of hope, and we are the beacon of hope. So anytime somebody tells you, oh, there's other countries better than the United States, it depends on what you mean. The weather or, freedoms, we all got freedoms. So what? But without the United States beacon of hope, and you pull our military down, you collapse this country, and it's over, Jack. I mean, within 48 hours, Israel will fall. And then all those other little, cool countries. And I love Sweden. I love Norway. But don't let anybody convince you that without the world can survive without the United States. It'll be a dark world. The light will go away.
Yes, it will.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right. That was awesome because as you were talking, I kept flipping back to you, but I also let the people kept posting where they're from. So kind of
the guy from Sweden. Can you jump on that? I mean, would you agree?
We got people coming to the Patriot Fest from overseas here. We got one guy lined up flying in. So
Lithuania.
Scott's going to be there most likely. He's got it put on his books August 14th and 15th.
I'll be in the ride too. If you got a motorcycle, come.
Yeah,
I will. I'll be at the very back with a GoPro on because I do a lot of rides. I've been in a lot of big rides.
I'm going to get in it, and the Jeep vehicles are allowed. I think you're either like Scott at the back of it. You're not in the crowd of the motor, but you're in it.
Right.
But you can have cars in for
That's going to be a great event.
It's going to be great.
And we're going to blink our eyes and it's going to be here. George Eagle JFK, there's no Samson option.
There's no backbone like that of the American people. Action Jackson.
North Dakota. Randy.
North Dakota.
Good afternoon from...
Nasty clone Biden. So, we're not 1 million.
Sorry, I got excited again. Has anybody seen the latest in Virginia, Commonwealth, where the caption was... The Civil War might start again in Virginia. The gun laws and they're trying to do away with Jaquito, martial arts defense classes. They're attacking all levels of
self-defense.
And they had a huge turnout of support. Usually this one little area had, I think they said like 600 was the most they ever had at a city council meeting. They kind of poured out the building. This building was surrounded by good old Virginians saying, come hell or high water. So Google some of that, read up on it. They're starting it. I mean, this is going on. The caption kind of scared the hell out of me because I'm actually watching the series Man in the High Castle, which is, I'm not going to tell you where it's at because I don't promote Amazon, but Man in the High Castle series, I'm in the middle of watching that and I see that caption, the second Civil War might start in the Virginia Commonwealth. I'm like, whoa.
All right, go ahead and you got anything to say to the Patriots here?
Well, I was emotional on that first clip a little bit ago. I'll try to end on some positive notes. Again, pick up your Webster Dictionary. Make some highlights. Pick a couple of words maybe every day. I pick patriotism, humane, liberal, conservative, to be more informed and also to remind myself of what the true definition of being a patriot is. Doesn't mean you have to hate the person that's against you. Obviously, we're all Americans. To be humane. How do you become a better listener? Sometimes you don't always hear what somebody's saying because you're not listening. And then obviously go over the definitions of liberal and conservative. That way maybe it'll keep you from arguing with your loved ones or your neighbors, because there's no reason to. The true definition of those two things does not have a color attached to them. It's not red and it's not blue. It's okay to be conservative liberal. It's okay to be a liberal conservative. Don't let them keep dividing us. They have to paint a caption on you as a person. You're an American citizen. You're not a blue. You're not a red. You're not a Republican. You're not a Democrat. You're a voice. You're a voice that should be heard. You certainly are not a voice that should just categorized with a whole bunch of other voices, because then your message isn't being heard. Only what only the label they gave you is being heard, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So don't get labeled. Don't label others. Get informed. Use your vocabulary and protect those rights.
Never give them up. Why not? Why never give them up? Because they're so hard to get back from the idiots that you give it to. We've already given up a lot, folks. Don't give up anymore. We have it all the time. People, even just down to property searching, and that's your body. And lawyers argued all the time. A good civil defense lawyer is going to argue, yeah, my client's civil rights were violated. And then over the years, the judges have looked, well, what did you end up finding when you illegally searched them? Well, I found a bag of coke or crack or something. And then the judges are in favor of, well, at least you got that off the street. We'll let you violate his rights this time. And
Right.
over time and over time and over time.
They take a little more.
Yeah. Give them an inch, they take a mile. And here we are. So,
Do you have the, can you end this and roll the Reagan one that I was showing you about?
I sure can.
There's some real disturbing information on there, and rice farmer got his property seized because he raised too much rice, and the government said, well, we're going to seize it and auction it, and that will keep farmers from doing what they're not supposed to do. It's like, what did I just hear? And when you really start researching this entire video, what Reagan's talking about, he wasn't wrong. The waste, the money that was wasted, has been wasted, still being wasted. The little laws that farmers break and they get penalized and they lose their property, that stuff is going on. And now you have it in Virginia where they're coming after you. You can't go to the dojo anymore and learn how to defend yourself. So that makes you more of a target. So watch the video. It's actually a good I'd say read, but a good listen.
Let me grab this here.
Grab it.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, so
Let me pull that in here, folks. And again, we'll see you back here. I'll be doing some Q post here before. And again, there'll be some Q drop video. And then after that, 9 o'clock tonight, again, put it on your schedule. American Joe right here live. And we're going to be talking about the border. And he's going down there in January, I believe. So
good stuff. Hey, it was good seeing you guys. I'll get back over here sometime next week.
have a great evening.
The following pre-recorded political program is sponsored by TV for Goldwater Miller on behalf of Barry Goldwater, Republican candidate for President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we take pride in presenting a thoughtful address by Ronald Reagan. Mr. Reagan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you and good evening. The sponsor has been identified, but unlike most television programs, the performer hasn't been provided with a script. As a matter of fact, I have been permitted to choose my own words and discuss my own ideas regarding the choice that we face in the next few weeks. I have spent most of my life as a Democrat. I recently have seen fit to follow another course. I believe that the issues confronting us cross party lines. Now, one side in this campaign has been telling us that the issues of this election are the maintenance of peace and prosperity. The line has been used, we've never had it so good. But I have an uncomfortable feeling that this prosperity isn't something on which we can base our hopes for the future. No nation in history has ever survived a tax burden that reached 1/3 of its national income. Today, 37 cents out of every dollar earned in this country is the tax collector's share. And yet our government continues to spend $17 million a day more than the government takes in. We haven't balanced our budget 28 out of the last 34 years. We've raised our debt limit 3 times in the last 12 months. And now our national debt is 1.5 times bigger than all the combined debts of all the nations of the world. We have $15 billion in gold in our treasury. We don't own an ounce. Foreign dollar claims are $27.3 billion. And we've just had announced that the dollar of 1939 will now purchase 45 cents in its total value. As for the peace that we would preserve, I wonder who among us would like to approach the wife or mother whose husband or son has died in South Vietnam and ask them if they think this is a peace that should be maintained indefinitely. Do they mean peace, or do they mean we just want to be left in peace? There can be no real peace while one American is dying someplace in the world for the rest of us. We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant-heap of totalitarianism. And regardless of their sincerity, their humanitarian motives, those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. In this vote harvesting time, they use terms like the Great Society, or as we were told a few days ago by the President, we must accept a greater government activity in the affairs of the people. But they've been a little more explicit in the past, and among themselves, and all of the things I now will quote have appeared in print. These are not Republican accusations. For example, they have voices that say the Cold War will end through our acceptance of a not undemocratic socialism. Another voice says the profit motive has become outmoded. It must be replaced by the incentives of the welfare state. Or our traditional system of individual freedom is incapable of solving the complex problems of the 20th century. Senator Fulbright has said at Stanford University that the Constitution is outmoded. He referred to the President as our moral teacher and our leader, and he says he is hobbled in his task by the restrictions of power imposed on him by this antiquated document. He must be freed so that he can do for us what he knows is best. And Senator Clark of Pennsylvania, another articulate spokesman, defines liberalism as meeting the material needs of the masses through the full power of centralized government. Well, I, for one, resent it when a representative of the people refers to you and me, the free men and women of this country, as the masses. This is a term we haven't applied to ourselves in America. But beyond that, the full power of centralized government, this was the very thing the Founding Fathers sought to minimize. They knew that governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. They also knew, those Founding Fathers, that outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy. Now, we have no better example of this than government's involvement in the farm economy over the last 30 years. Since 1955, the cost of this program has nearly doubled. 1/4 of farming in America is responsible for 85% of the farm surplus. 3/4 of farming is out on the free market and has known a 21% increase in the per capita consumption of all its produce. You see, that 1/4 of farming, that's regulated and controlled by the federal government. In the last 3 years, we've spent $43 in the feed grain program for every dollar bushel of corn we don't grow. Senator Humphrey last week charged that Barry Goldwater, as president, would seek to eliminate farmers. He should do his homework a little better, because he'll find out that we've had a decline of 5 million in the farm population under these government programs. He'll also find that the Democratic administration has sought to get from Congress extension of the farm program to include that 3/4 that is now free. He'll find that they've also asked for the right to imprison farmers who wouldn't keep books as prescribed by the federal government. The Secretary of Agriculture asked for the right to seize farms through condemnation and resell them to other individuals. And contained in that same program was a provision that would have allowed the federal government to remove 2 million farmers from the soil. At the same time, there's been an increase in the Department of Agriculture employees. There's now 1 for every 30 farms in the United States. And still, they can't tell us how 66 shiploads of grain headed for Austria disappeared without a trace, and Billy Sol Estes never left shore. Every responsible farmer and farm organization has repeatedly asked the government to free the farm economy. But who are farmers to know what's best for them? The wheat farmers voted against a wheat program. The government passed it anyway. Now the price of bread goes up, the price of wheat to the farmer goes down. Meanwhile, back in the city, under urban renewal, the assault on freedom carries on. Private property rights so diluted that public interest is almost anything a few government planners decide it should be. In a program that takes from the needy and gives to the greedy, we see such spectacles as in Cleveland, Ohio, a $1.5 million building completed only 3 years ago must be destroyed to make way for what government officials call a more compatible use of the land. The president tells us he's now going to start building public housing units in the thousands, where heretofore we've only built them in the hundreds. But FHA and the Veterans Administration tell us they have 120,000 housing units they've taken back through mortgage foreclosure. For 3 decades, we've sought to solve the problems of unemployment through government planning, and the more the plans fail, the more the planners plan. The latest is the Area Redevelopment Agency. They've just declared Rice County, Kansas, a depressed area. Rice County, Kansas has 200 oil wells, and the 14,000 people there have over $30 million on deposit in personal savings in their banks. When the government tells you you're depressed, lie down and be depressed. We have so many people who can't see a fat man standing beside a thin one without coming to the conclusion the fat man got that way by taking advantage of the thin one. So they're going to solve all the problems of human misery through government and government planning. Well, now, if government planning and welfare had the answer, and they've had almost 30 years of it, shouldn't we expect government to read the score to us once in a while? Shouldn't they be telling us about the decline each year in the number of people needing help, the reduction in the need for public housing? But the reverse is true. Each year the need grows greater, the program grows greater. We were told 4 years ago that 17 million people went to bed hungry each night. Well, that was probably true. They were all on a diet. But now we're told that 9.3 million families in this country are poverty-stricken on the basis of earning less than $3,000 a year. Welfare spending 10 times greater than it was in the dark depths of the Depression. We're spending $45 billion on welfare. Now do a little arithmetic and you'll find that if we divided the $45 billion up equally among those 9 million poor families, we'd be able to give each family $4,600 a year. And this, added to their present income, should eliminate poverty. Direct aid to the poor, however, is only running about $600 per family. It would seem that someplace there must be some overhead. Now we declare war on poverty, or you too can be a Bobby Baker. Now, do they honestly expect us to believe that if we add $1 billion to the $45 billion we're spending, one more program to the 30-odd we have, and remember, this new program doesn't replace any, it just duplicates existing programs. Do they believe that poverty is suddenly going to disappear by magic? Well, in all fairness, I should explain there is one part of the new program that isn't duplicated. This is the youth feature. We're now going to solve the dropout problem, juvenile delinquency, by reinstituting something like the old CCC camps. And we're going to put our young people in these camps. But again, we do some arithmetic and we find that we're going to spend each year just on room and board for each young person we help $4,700 a year. We can send them to Harvard for $2,700. Of course, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting Harvard is the answer to juvenile delinquency. But seriously, what are we doing to those we seek to help? Not too long ago, a judge called me here in Los Angeles. He told me of a young woman who'd come before him for a divorce. She had 6 children, was pregnant with her 7th. Under his questioning, she revealed her husband was a laborer earning $250 a month. She wanted the divorce to get an $80 raise. She's eligible for $330 a month in the Aid to Dependent Children program. She got the idea from 2 women in her neighborhood who'd already done that very thing. Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything. Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant, it's just that they know so much that isn't so. Now, we're for a provision that destitution should not follow unemployment by reason of old age. And to that end, we have accepted Social Security as a step toward meeting the problem. But we're against those entrusted with this program when they practice deception regarding its fiscal shortcomings, when they charge that any criticism of the program means that we want to end payments to those people who depend on them for a livelihood. They've called it insurance to us in 100 million pieces of literature. But then they appeared before the Supreme Court and they testified it was a welfare program. They only used the term insurance to sell it to the people. And they said Social Security dues are a tax for the general use of the government. And the government has used that tax. There is no fund. Because Robert Byers, the actuarial head, appeared before a congressional committee and admitted that Social Security as of this moment is $298 billion in the hole. But he said there should be no cause for worry, because as long as they had the power to tax, they could always take away from the people whatever they needed to bail them out of trouble. And they're doing just that. A young man, 21 years of age, working at an average salary, his Social Security contribution would in the open market buy him an insurance policy that would guarantee $220 a month at age 65. The government promises $127. He could live it up until he's 31 and then take out a policy that would pay more than Social Security. Now, are we so lacking in business sense that we can't put this program on a sound basis so that people who do require those payments will find they can get them when they're due, that the cupboard isn't bare? Barry Goldwater thinks we can. At the same time, can't we introduce voluntary features that would permit a citizen who can do better on his own to be excused upon presentation of evidence that he had made provision for the non-earning years? Should we not allow a widow with children to work and not lose the benefits supposedly paid for by her deceased husband? Shouldn't you and I be allowed to declare who our beneficiaries will be under this program, which we cannot do? I think we're for telling our senior citizens that no one in this country should be denied medical care because of a lack of funds. But I think we're against forcing all citizens, regardless of need, into a compulsory government program, especially when we have such examples as was announced last week when France admitted that their Medicare program is now bankrupt. They've come to the end of the road. In addition, was Barry Goldwater so irresponsible when he suggested that our government give up its program of deliberate planned inflation so that when you do get your Social Security pension, $1 will buy $1's worth and not 45 cents worth? I think we're for an international organization where the nations of the world can seek peace. But I think we're against subordinating American interests to an organization that has become so structurally unsound that today you can muster a 2/3 vote on the floor of the General Assembly among nations that represent less than 10% of the world's population. I think we're against the hypocrisy of assailing our allies because here and there they cling to a colony, while we engage in a conspiracy of silence and never open our mouths about the millions of people enslaved in the Soviet colonies in the satellite nations. I think we're for aiding our allies by sharing of our material blessings with those nations which share in our fundamental beliefs. But we're against doling out money government to government, creating bureaucracy, if not socialism, all over the world. We set out to help 19 countries. We're helping 107. We've spent $146 billion. With that money, we bought a $2 million yacht for Haile Selassie. We bought dress suits for Greek undertakers, extra wives for Kenya government officials. We bought 1,000 TV sets for a place where they have no electricity. In the last 6 years, 52 nations have bought $7 billion worth of our gold, and all 52 are receiving foreign aid from this country. No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size, so government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. Federal employees number 2.5 million, and federal, state, and local, 1 out of 6 of the nation's workforce employed by government. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards. How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant? They can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury, and they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine. In Chico County, Arkansas, James Weir overplanted his rice allotment. The government obtained a $17,000 judgment, and a U.S. Marshal sold his 960-acre farm at auction. The government said it was necessary as a warning to others to make the system work. Last February 19th at the University of Minnesota, Norman Thomas, 6 times candidate for president on the Socialist Party ticket, said if Barry Goldwater became president, he would stop the advance of socialism in the United States. I think that's exactly what he will do. But as a former Democrat, I can tell you Norman Thomas isn't the only man who has drawn this parallel to socialism with the present administration. Because back in 1936, Mr. Democrat himself, Al Smith, a great American, came before the American people and charged that the leadership of his party was taking the party of Jefferson, Jackson, and Cleveland down the road under the banners of Marx, Lenin, and Stalin. And he walked away from his party and he never returned till the day he died. Because to this day, the leadership of that party has been taking that party, that honorable party, down the road in the image of the Labor Socialist Party of England. Now, it doesn't require expropriation or confiscation of private property or business to impose socialism on a people. What does it mean whether you hold the deed to or the title to your business or property if the government holds the power of life and death over that business or property? And such machinery already exists. The government can find some charge to bring against any concern it chooses to prosecute. Every businessman has his own tale of harassment. Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government. And freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment. Our Democratic opponents seem unwilling to debate these issues. They want to make you and I believe that this is a contest between 2 men, that we're to choose just between 2 personalities. Well, what of this man that they would destroy? And in destroying, they would destroy that which he represents, the ideas that you and I hold dear. Is he the brash and shallow and trigger-happy man they say he is? Well, I've been privileged to know him when. I knew him long before he ever dreamed of trying for high office. And I can tell you personally, I've never known a man in my life I believed so incapable of doing a dishonest or dishonorable thing. This is a man who in his own business, before he entered politics, instituted a profit-sharing plan before unions had ever thought of it. He put in health and medical insurance for all his employees. He took 50% of the profits before taxes and set up a retirement program, a pension plan for all his employees. He sent monthly checks for life to an employee who was ill and couldn't work. He provides nursing care for the children of mothers who work in the stores. When Mexico was ravaged by the floods in the Rio Grande, he climbed in his airplane and flew medicine and supplies down there. An ex-GI told me how he met him. It was the week before Christmas during the Korean War. And he was at the Los Angeles airport trying to get a ride home to Arizona for Christmas. And he said that a lot of servicemen there and no seats available on the planes. And then a voice came over the loudspeaker and said, any men in uniform wanting a ride to Arizona, go to runway such and such. And they went down there, there was a fellow named Barry Goldwater sitting in his plane. Every day in those weeks before Christmas, all day long, he'd load up the plane, fly it to Arizona, fly them to their homes, fly back over to get another load. During the hectic split...